to give a spiritual reinforcement to see what type of individual we are out of these 7 types of individuals. So here's the first type of individual is called an individual sinks down once and stays sunk. And the second individual is on coming to the surface sinks down again. The third individual is on coming to the surface, stays there on the water. And the fourth individual is on coming to the surface, opens his eyes and looks around. And the fifth individual is on coming to the surface, heads across. The sixth individual is on coming to the surface, gains a foothold. And the seventh type of individual is on coming to the surface, crosses over, reaches the far shore, stands on high ground, and becomes a true Brahmin. So these are the 7 types of individuals that Buddha is highlighting in the sutta. And now the question is, when we talk about the first type of individual, sinking down and staying sunk, what does it mean? What causes this individual to sink down and stay sunk? And the next question is, what kind of qualities helps the individual to come onto the surface, but again to sink down? And the third question is about the third type of individual. On coming to the surface, opens his eyes and, on coming to the surface, it stays there. What does it mean? What Dhamma qualities helps that person to come onto the surface and stay there on the surface of the water? And then the fourth type of individual, coming onto the surface, opens his eyes and looks around. What does it mean? And what Dhamma qualities helps this person to come onto the surface and open his or her eyes and look around? And the fifth individual, on coming to the surface, heads across. So what kind of Dhamma qualities helps that person to come onto the surface and to head across? And the sixth type of individual, on coming to the surface, gains a foothold. Now the question is, what kind of Dhamma qualities help this person to come onto the surface and help this person to gain a foothold? And the seventh type of individual, on coming to the surface, crosses over, reaches the far shore, stands on high ground, a Brahmin. So what kind of Dhamma qualities help this person to become this seventh type of individual? So in this sutta, actually, we see there are, when the first type of individual is about the individual who is sinking down and staying sunk. So the any individual who is engaging in or becomes endowed with exclusively dark and unskillful qualities. So maybe the dasa akusala karmas. So these unwholesome qualities make this person sink and stay sunk. And so the seventh type of individual, this person could come onto the surface. So with five Dhamma qualities, the conviction in skillful qualities is good, that is saddha. Conscience is good, that is hiri. Concern is good, that is ottappa. Persistence is good, that is virya. Discernment with regard to skillful qualities is good, that is panya. So saddha, hiri, ottappa, virya, panya. If these qualities help the person to come onto the surface. But this person is sinking again because these 5 Dhamma qualities are not growing in this person. So this person sinks again. And on coming to the surface, stay there. That means this person, um, does good deeds, and those 5 qualities, Saddha, Hiri, Ottappa, Virya, Panya, these are good in this person. So he's doing good deeds. Skillful qualities are very good. And at the same time, now this third type of individual is working so hard to eradicate the first 3 fetters of the 10 fetters, Dasa Sanyojana Dhammas. And the fourth type of individual, again, these 5 Dhamma qualities are very good, and this person is very skillful and doing good deeds because these 5 Dhamma qualities are growing in this person, this individual, and at the same time, while he or she eradicated the first 3 fetters of the 10 fetters, and at the same time, he becomes Sakadagami, the one's returner. And the 6th type of individual, again, then he's doing all the good deeds because those 5 Dhamma qualities are improving, and at the same time, this person, this individual, has completely eradicated the 5 fetters of the 10 fetters. And the 7th type of individual, of course, these 5 Dhamma qualities have improved, and this person is doing great and cultivating skillful deeds. And at the same time, this individual has worked so hard to eradicate all the 10 fetters. So this person becomes an arhat. So, so now the question, now this is maybe something to reflect together. Now, what does this sutta tell us? Like, which category of the individual we belong to? Like, are we the people who are sinking and staying sunk, or are we the people who are coming onto the surface or sinking again, or are we the people who are coming onto the surface and staying on the surface, or are we the people coming onto the surface now, slowly swimming towards the shore, or are we the people who are coming onto the surface and swimming towards the shore and standing still in the water at the shore, or are we the people walking towards the high ground, completely free from dangers of the water, becoming the arhat? So this is something to reflect on. I know this is today we are beginning the discussion with a different topic, but I find this sutta very powerful. So I see Venerable Bhante Ananda from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, raised his hand. So what can you tell us, Venerable Ananda?
Dear Venerables, I just want to add some context to this sutta, Uddaka Upama, which means taking water or an incident related to water as an anecdote or a simile. Now, I think the anecdote itself is very beautiful. It's like, I don't know if you ever have drowned in some place. I got drowned quite a few times. Once in a sea where I got caught into riptide. And then when you get dragged away by the riptide, imagine a situation where a person is in a place where he's drowning. So that is a very powerful example of how this all ignorance causes us, and that unknowingly we are drowning over and over again, and we are not aware of the whole situation. So I think the example itself is very powerful. The drowning. Only if you have really drowned, you will understand how powerful the example is. Now, having said that, uh, like Panta Sanapala mentioned in the beginning, it discusses about seven steps of a person of different places where a person could be. But there's a marked difference that there's a first part up until the fourth part where the person is still not a path enterer. He's either completely unskillful or he's trying to acquire skills. So the first set of skills are the Hiri, Otappa, Virya, and Panya. Now, Hiri and Otappa are two words which are used most of the time they are used together. Hiri means that the sense of shame of doing a wrong thing. Uh, Otappa means staying away or shrinking back from doing wrong. So those two are used very often, and that is one of the first steps of trying to gain foothold. Not even getting foothold, but trying to gain foothold. So once a person acquires those skillfulness, that those skills in him, he then goes on to the energy, vigor, and the virya to stay determined in his path, but he's still not complete. And then comes the most important thing, the panya. Now, I think the word panya is a very interesting word. Panya is often translated as knowledge. Now, then in Buddhism, knowledge or jnana vibhaga is one of the most discussed subjects, because when we say knowledge, it literally means the things that we know. But then again, things that we know are all not the ultimate truths. So that is one of the fundamental discourses in Buddhism, knowledge or panya. So I will give you a small example. If I tell you about the Newton's law when he discovered when the apple fell on his head, it's that two masses can attract each other, and that causes an attraction force. And I could go on to say that the first mass is m1, the second is m2, and the space between that is r. And so let's come up with a formula called F equals g m1 m2 divided by r square. Now I can tell you this, and people might understand, and they will call it knowledge. But in Buddhism, that is not what is called knowledge. What I just did was I just gave a conceptual idea to someone, and then you replicated that concept in your head, and that is not an example for knowledge. So knowledge goes further deeper. And talking about panya, the word panya. So again, I will take an example. We have our six indriya or six. Indriya means in English
Faculties.
faculties. Faculties. So Indriya is Chakku Indriya, Sota Indriya, Gana Indriya. So we have the six faculties, and then also in Buddhism we have a separate faculty called Panya Indriya. Panya Indriya. Now the difference is that if you take the I can only detect up to a certain amount of information in this world. It can detect from infrared to ultraviolet, but beyond and above, it cannot detect anything. So whatever the knowledge we gain from the faculty of I is limited by nature. And so is our mind-related knowledge. We can think, there's this thing saying that if you take a image of a 3D object, it becomes 2D. So if we take a snapshot of a 4D image, it should be 3D. But there is no way that our minds can fathom 4D, because the limit of our mind is between 3D and 2D. We can't even imagine 1D also. 1D might be a dot, but the dot has to be on a piece of paper. So we can't also fathom 1D. So the operational range of our mind is between 2D to 3D. So the same way, if we take mind as a faculty, the amount of truth you can perceive with that mind faculty is still limited. So because of that reason, in Buddhism, there's another seventh faculty called the Panya Indriya. There's Sati Indriya, Panya Indriya, etc., etc. But definitely, the six faculties that we know of does not become part of this knowledge or Panya. So I just wanted to point out that a very important difference in that part. Again, in many suttas, Anya Anya Tismi Indriya. Anya, so when a person becomes so one, a new faculty is born within him. Anya Smiti Indriya. I think I got it wrong. Like when after the five monks, five
I'll be
athletics,
right back real quick. You guys just
when they
continue
become so
doing
one
a
in
great job listening. I'll be right back.
Sutta, Kondanya becomes Anya Kondanya because he gains a new faculty. And having said that, I think once we have the first four um, uh, first four things that a person could acquire, Hiri, Botappa, Vinaya, Panya, the skillfulness in these, once they acquire, they will move on to the stream enterer, the non-returner, the second, third, fourth, and ultimately the arhat states of understanding. So having said that, I think it's also useful to understand this idea called the 10 fetters in Buddhism or 10 shackles in Buddhism. Now, the simple idea of fetter or shackle is something which your mind is bound to, as if there's a fly who has 10 limbs and there's a wet paint a wall. He goes and sits on the wall and his limbs are stuck on the paint with these 10 limbs. So one by one he releases until he can completely fly away. So similarly, the mind is bound by 10 things or 10 fetters. So you release these fetters one by one. Ultimately, you will gain the complete emancipation or the complete liberation of your mind. So the 10 fetters are the first three fetters, they are often again come together. The souls, the stream enterer, the soul one person will get rid of these three fetters together. So they are the Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikiccha, and Silabbata Paramasa. Sakkaya Ditthi is one of the most discussed terms in Buddhism again. What is your view of yourself or Atman or ego? And then goes Vicikiccha, the doubtfulness, whether you are having a doubt in number one on the doctrine that we have understood, and the number two on yourself, the self doubt. Are you split between what you truly believe, or are you completely grounded with that? And then the third one, back in the day, even to date, a lot of people get into different practices, thinking that will lead to the moksha or emancipation. So Buddha said, doing a practice without understanding it also not the way to find moksha. So once a person understands these three things, Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikiccha, Silabbata Paramasa, he will become the path enterer, so one person. And a soul person then will go through a phase where Amaraga Patiya, the attachment for materialistic things, and secondary form of that. Once you attach to something, whether when you want to get something, it's very natural that someone or something or nature might come in between you, what you want, and what you would like to have. So the secondary form of that attachment is that you would be angry, you'll be upset, you'll be depressed. So that's a secondary form. So Kamaraga, Patiga, they are also very intertwinedly used. It's like the two sides of the same coin. And Kamaraga and Patiga, they taper off over the next two states between the Sakadagami and Anagami. They taper off, and at the end of Anagami, it's completely eradicated, Kamaraga, Patiga. But then we have only finished the first five letters. In the Arhat state, the next five letters, the most important five letters, are then taken away. Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Manu, Dacha, Avidya. So those are the next five letters which will be taken away, and the detailed description of what these things mean it can be very in detail. Maybe it's a whole different discussion, but Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Man, Udacha, Avidya, that is the end of it. And once you completely understand that, once you get rid of those 10 fetters, then you have a foothold. Not only you have a foothold, you are above and beyond that repeatedly sinking waterfall, and you're liberated. So I wanted to end that one.
Yeah, no, thank you, Venerable Ananda, for giving more explanations of the five Dhamma qualities and talking about those Indriyas and also the Dasa Sangyojana Dharmas, the 10 fetters. And I think people would be interested in knowing more about like reflection, what kind of dark qualities. Now Buddha says in this regarding the first individual, the someone who is endowed with these dark qualities, and these dark qualities are going to make the person sing and stay sung. And then of course the hope is that if that person stops doing these dark qualities, dark actions, and chooses to cultivate those five Dhamma qualities, that will help the person to come out. So now I see Venerable Shanta Sobana raising his hand. Venerable Shanta Sobana, enlighten us.
Thank you very much, Venerable Sirs. And actually, this is a very beautiful sutta, as like other suttas. So, especially when it comes to this sutta, as you mentioned, the very first quality, that why people get into this kind of situation. So, these 7 qualities is kind of like the 7 characters in the society when it comes to the Dharma practice, the spiritual practice. And this Udaka Upama Uggala Sutta, so it's Udaka means the water.
Yeah.
Upama means the example.
Yeah.
So this water is a kind of like a very popular example in Buddha's teaching most of time. So because sometimes this samsara, this existence, Buddha mentioned as an ogre, like a flood. So we don't see the undercurrent of this existence sometimes. So we just go with the base value or the surface level, and sometimes we get into wrong judgment. So basically, I'm from Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka. So we have a lot of lakes. During festival time, a lot of people die because they come from other cities, and they have no idea about the nature of the lake. So they just come and they want to swim, and they just jump. And even though that there are many signs and warning signs telling don't jump here, don't swim here, still there are some people get into the situation. So as you asked, the very first reason why people into this kind of situation, because of the personal view. Sometimes we have our self-centered idea. We don't listen to others. We don't look around, and we don't get example from others. We believe what we think. And because of that, sometimes we into situations. So in this sutta, the very first, the quality that when people jump to the water, there is no second chance. They go deeper into it and they cannot come back. So in the society, it is a very good example nowadays, because sometimes in our life, we have opportunities, we have chances. But there are situations come, there are no U-turns, there are no second chance for our life. And we cannot say sorry for anybody, because I sometimes when I go to prison, there are some people and they are into situation, the very first time they into that situation, but now they cannot correct it. They cannot erase that situation. They have no choice. They have to move forward. So sometimes I ask, why you into this situation? And so they think kind of like, oh, I never thought about it. So the important thing when it comes to life, we get this simile according to the water. The water, sometimes people used to swim in the pool, and sometimes they can swim in a river. Sometimes they know how to swim in a lake, and some people can swim in the ocean. So it is so different when it comes to the very places. And our wrong judgment is sometimes some people they know how to swim, the pool, but when we go to the lake, it is totally different. So what we need to understand when it comes to life, basically we have to understand the very nature of life. And if we get into situations, we have to understand what is the very nature of it, because it is not sometimes what we think. It has a different nature. So there is a story that there was a very old man, and he used to have a little raft, and he used to carry people from one side to other side. So there was a man came from the city, and on the way he riding this raft, and he start to have a conversation with this old man and asked, "Uncle, do you know about science?" This old man told, "I don't know about science." Yeah. "Oh, then your life is useless." Then by the time then he again asked, "Uncle, do you know about mathematics?" This old man told, "I don't know about this mathematics." "Oh, then your life is useless." "Oh, uncle, do you know about the geography?" Then this old man told, "I don't know about geography." So by the time what happened, there was a huge tide came, and the raft started to go unbalanced. Then this uncle asked, "By the way, do you know how to swim?" And this man told, "I don't know how to swim." So then the old man told, "It doesn't matter whatever the science you know. If you come to water, remember how to learn how to swim." So it like sometimes we learn a lot of things, but when it comes to our day-to-day life, we misunderstand. Yeah. And we come kind of like we have unwise consideration regarding the life. Yeah. Because of that, we into unnecessary situations, especially nowadays when it comes to the society. And I would like to bring an example from the during the Buddha's time. As we know that the Prince Ajasattha, and he had the friend that Venerable Devadatta. So how this Devadatta, Venerable Devadatta, that took this Prince Ajasattha to his side. So one day Prince Ajasattha was in his chamber and resting. So during that time, suddenly he saw a little baby appeared in front of him. Mm. And with all the hands and the legs is kind of like a snake heads. And he was shocked and look, what is this? And then he knew there is a kind of like a something behind, some miracles happening. And the Ajasattha was afraid and asked, "Who is this?" And then the Venerable Devadatta told, "It is me, Venerable Devadatta." So then Ajasattha told, "I can't see you. Can you appear?" So then the Venerable Devadatta appeared. From that day, the Prince Ajasattha used to believe the Venerable Devadatta. So then he started to do everything. So when it comes to that, the very first thing sometimes the trust or the conviction or the confidence that we have regarding something leads us to good or bad. So it is very important. Even today we see around the world, people like to see miracles and people like to go behind others. So nothing wrong with that. But we have to see, is there any profitable skills behind that? Or just believing something is not enough. Especially when it comes to day-to-day life, how we can apply this sutra to in this conventional life today. Because today, there are a lot of these young people start to follow social media. When it comes to that, they always follow that to the most of the followers or the whoever have the most subscribers or more whoever if they have some kind of more views, and people try to, especially young people, start to try to follow them. But sometimes it takes them to a situation, as I mentioned from the beginning, there is no return. Because nowadays, especially that US embassy, Canadian embassy, and Australian, like that, lot of embassies, if anybody apply for visa, one of the important thing they check their social media profile.
Mm.
And another thing is, most of the universities now, they follow the whoever apply for the university, they look into their social media profile. One of the incident I know personally, there was a student and she applied for a very good, very high university. And she was a very skillful person, but she had account, only fan account. Because of that, her application rejected from that university. See that sometimes we do things without knowing what the feedback or the what are the consequences we going to face in our life. So the very first thing then we have to remember, and the very beginning of the wisdom, we have to have that we call the Shrutame Jnana, listening to others, and the Paratogosa Jnana. So look around and see and learn from others and learn from the society. So that is a very simple, basic method that we all can use, but still people don't follow that. People always believe their own personal view, self-centered idea, and they think whatever comes to their mind, they think that is the right thing. But when it comes to Dharma, we all know, we believe that way. That's why we are in this existence. So if anybody want to get out of this, the very first step, and start to get out of this self-centered view, how we can do that? And start to get into good friends. It is very important nowadays because, as we know, a lot of parents have a very difficult time now with their children, because even though they, as parents, they take care of their children in a better way, when they go to the society, it is very hard for them to find a good friends. And in case if they found a wrong friend, and by the time they're going to go to the wrong life. And one of another incident, and I know personally, there was a girl and she was very nice and educated and beautiful, and her plan was to become a model in the Los Angeles, and she used to go to school. So, but what happened? The last this Thanksgiving Day, she went with some friends, and then they gave her some kind of drugs, and she overdosed. And now her brain completely the mess up, and it's kind of like she cannot anymore recognize this just ordinary level of understanding, and she cannot absorb this perception like a normal person. And she cannot get back to that normal life. See, this is everywhere we see nowadays. So that's why it is important that to know through this wisdom, because that whatever the sutras or the wisdom that we have in the book, it doesn't matter until it's come through our own life. It's not going to work. So that's why that this kind of people everywhere, and we also included to the 7 kind of people, and we have seen during the tsunami time, all these 7 people, how they deal with the flood or the current of the water in physically. That I have personal experience when I was in my village. There was a very good person, fisherman. He used to teach me how to swim, and we always go to the lake. But he died, and he drowned to the lake, and he died there one day. The very reason he overestimated his own physical strength, and then he was swimming, and what happened? He got a cramp in middle of the lake, and he drowned, and he died. So one of the important thing then, with just the physical strength, we cannot deal with this life. We need some kind of wisdom.
Yeah.
That is very important. How we can gain that wisdom? Just following ordinary person, we can't get it. That is where we need to get into the Dharma and learn something from it.
Mm. And I think you have actually brought up a lot of points. The lack of saddha is going to make the person do the wrong things, right? And when you burden yourself with the wrong things, as Buddha says in that sutta, dark unskillful qualities. So once you burden yourself with such negative karma, then of course you're going to sink. And if you're lacking this hiriyottapa, if you're not making any sort of effort, virya, if you have no wisdom, then of course you're going to end up with all the wrong things. And as a result of that, it's going to make you sink. And if you keep doing, they're going to make you stay sunk. So cultivating these 5 qualities are very important. Now, it's beginning with the sadhana, as you said. If somebody has a lot of followers or fans, and people think, oh, this is the person to follow. And if people have just few subscribers or the fans or followers, they say, oh, this is not an important person. So convincing someone with good things is very important. Saddha, as Buddha said, no saddha hattus. The saddha faith is like hand. Saddha bijang faith is a seed. Without this saddha, nothing will happen in our life. Especially we cannot go in the right direction. So those who have a lot of followers, I think they should have a special obligation or duty, social duty, to put them in the right direction, to stop doing the bad things and helping, encouraging people to do the wholesome deeds. So thank you, Venerable Shanti Sobana, for shedding more light. So I see Venerable Bhante Jinananda from Ottawa, Canada, raising his hand. So Bhante Jinananda, please shed more light regarding these 7 types of individuals and the teachings we find in this sutta.
Thank you, Bhante. First and foremost, I wish Venerables and our lay followers here very happy and peaceful New Year. May you all be able to engage with the Dhamma better than previous years and be one of the 4 here, as you mentioned, in this very year. That's my wish for everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, I think you did a very nice summary for the sutta, even though you said that you didn't prepare anyway. And also Venerable Ananda and Venerable Santasubana, they all shed light on the content of the sutta. I just wanted to add that what the Buddha thought about us by telling this sutta, because Buddha's intention was to showcase that if Dhamma is well practiced, anybody and everybody has the chance of becoming at least a Sotapanna. So when you look at the way the sutta is elaborated, the water, huge water could be the samsara or the suffering, both talking about one thing. And we are in suffering, we are in unsatisfactory nature. So one of the characteristic of the 3 is dukkha. So that is inevitable. As long as we are living beings, we have that stages of suffering, so that we are all in samsara. So everybody has been put into water in that regard. And who is going to swing? Who is going to put their foot under the water and saving their life without submerging? So that's kind of things is being taken by the Buddha metaphorically to tell what the Dhamma is. So basically, out of these 7, first 3 are Putujjana, and the third one is going to be the one who could be like many people in this world, because the third one has the chance of getting into the right Dhamma. The very word the commentary says is Putujjana, and there are 2 kinds of Putujjana. One is Putujjana who doesn't know anything about the Dharma, who doesn't know anything about good. And the other one is called Kalyana Putujjana, the one who is still in the same boat, but he has some instincts. He has some urge to follow these 5 qualities mentioned. So that out of the 3, the third one would be really good, and the next 4 would be very exemplary characters in the Dhamma. The proud for the Buddha to tell that these are the 4 individual I would recommend for you to become like that. So everybody is invited to be one of those 4 individuals in order to save life. So in many cases, like Tamo Tama Parayana Sutta, where the Buddha talks about the differences of darkness and light. So Buddha talks about different categories there as well. So that sutta is going with this sutta, or we can keep this sutta close to it and understand both. So if we do not have right thinking and also right action and words, as Pante Sanpala at the very beginning said rightly, we are going to be one of the dark person. Because no matter how deep the Dhamma is, the way one become wholesome or unwholesome is decided the way one apply the 10 wholesome deeds, as you mentioned. So kusala kamma and akusala kamma. So Buddha asks us to start from there by distinguishing kusala kamma and akusala kamma. There you have the chance of moving forward, stepping into each category. For say, there are a lot of categorization like this in the Theravada teaching. I would like to mention a few things: how one become a Sotapanna, how one become a Anagami, a Sakudagami, Anagami, Arhants. So I think the very important piece of Dhamma for this is, according to my understanding, is the Okkanti Samyutta in Samyutta Nikaya, where one can easily do things to be a person who save his life in the deep suffering, the deep suffering. So how do we start? He said, the Buddha clearly said there that if we consider our senses and sensory experiences are impermanent and change into otherwise, and they are not in our control, this very thought change your attitude. This very reflection change your title in your personality. So if one is able to understand the senses and sensory experiences, and are right after the consciousness, particular consciousness are impermanent, and so on, he is turning himself as a sappurisa, as a wholesome individual. He is moving from worldly nature or putujjana nature to sappurisa bhumi, which means we become a member of Kalyana Mitra or Kalyana, the quality who has those powers. So that it is very simple and very gentle to just consider myself as you can take everything as myself. Myself is impermanent and subject to change, and there is no control over any of those things. This is the beginning of the noble training. In connected discourses of the Buddha, where everywhere he says the beginning of the noble training start with the reflection on senses and sensory experiences. So this is how we become a Sotapanna, or at least to reach to the level of the path of the Sotapanna, so that you stay in at least Saddhanusari and Dhammanusari. Sorry for using a lot of technical terms in Pali. What I want to tell is that the path to nirvana could be easily practiced if we catch from a simple places of explanation from the Buddha, so that our attitude slowly change to a very peaceful one. So I think that's all I want to say at this moment. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you, Bhante Jinanand. I think it's okay to use some technical terms. I think the purpose of this discussion is also to introduce these technical terms to our audience, so that it would motivate them to reflect and contemplate more about these technical terms. So no need to worry about using such technical terms. I say we should, because these are the very words of the Buddha, and for our own inspiration and motivation. And as you rightly pointed out, the first, second, and third individuals are in danger. They're in the waters. There's a possibility of sinking, and so once we realize we have become the fourth type of individual, that is the Sotapanna, that is helping us going towards the full realization of Nirvana in 7 lifetimes, or the Sakadagami, or Anagami, or Arhat. I said that is the whole purpose of this discussion. I think now we have to understand the fact that now where do we belong to personally? Now, comparing to these individuals and the teachings, we find, do we have these qualities, and are we working hard enough to make ourselves to go from third individual to become the fourth individual, so and so on and so forth. So this is the serious reflection. That's why I have titled this topic as the sincere reflection, or serious reflection for spiritual reinforcement. So we are doing this discussion not only to give a spiritual reinforcement to ourselves, but also to those who are interested in Dhamma and seeking the knowledge of Dhamma. So thank you, Bhante Jinananda, for your words of wisdom. So next we see Venerable Tridao raising his hand. He's from Florida. So what's in your mind, Venerable Tridao?
Thank you so much for having me. Salutations and Happy New Year to all of the most venerables here. May you live very long, and may you continue blessing all of us with your wisdom and all of the years accumulated in training, experience, and education. And Happy New Year to all of our wonderful followers. And thank you for following the right following in social media, which is here we are, number 71 of the years of yesteryears.
Actually, we are doing a great job through this biweekly Sutra discussion. We are helping people cultivate the Saddha, first quality,
yes.
faith.
So let me start off with a joke real quick. And that is, since it is number 71 series, that means we potentially have a lot of stream enterers already by now. And you should be above the water, and you should be heading towards the land of nirvana, from this shore to the other shore. You should started to get a foothold by now. Okay, so as everyone aware that I am engaged in Buddhist psychotherapy, and tonight we got to hear a lot of very deep and technical Pali. And I've never got a chance to use those technical Palis. It's because for most of the people that I've been counseling, we haven't gotten through the first couple stages yet. So today I'd like to take a minute to review what this sutta is, and what it means for all of us who have been there. Because some of the words in here alone is really deep. And one has to really take a minute to look at it and feel the pressure and the clinical applications of the sutta. So upon counseling someone yesterday, they were very deep into alcohol. And upon my recommendation that I said, I think that you probably gonna take anywhere from 2 to 5 years of counseling in order to heal. I told this student, and I said, I think that now it's time to kind of give up these things, and if you learn these things the right way, then perhaps you can attain bliss in your relationships and all of your future endeavors that you have told me so far. And she told me, wow, I'm 40 something years old, another 5 years. Wow, but I yearn for a relationship. I yearn to belong to someone. I yearn for these. I don't do well loneliness. I don't do well being by myself. So therefore, I backed up a little bit to help the student realize that, okay, number one, your sink have sunk. You have sunken down. Okay, and in the sutta, it talks about exclusive darkness, exclusively dark. One has to reflect the psychological darkness of where you've been, and where I've been. I think most monastics here have been through that type of darkness where we realize, wow, whew, that's painful. What does it mean to be underwater? So I used to be a lifeguard, City of Clearwater here in Florida, and you got to hold your breath. And anyone that practice mindfulness of the breath realize that there is suffering in the breath. There is suffering when you start going below the water. To hold your breath, to feel that tightness in the chest, and to feel the pressure and feel the need naturally to go up for air. So don't stay down there too long. And I think our job as human is we forget, naturally we forget. And so that's why we stay sunken. um this means really, really deep for me. What we don't want is to sink down again, right? The purpose of the Sangha, of the venerables, is that we are like lifeguards. We extend our arms down and we try to, hey, are you down there? Grab my hand so I can pull you up. And as it talks about staying there and opening your eyes to look around, well, hopefully that's happening. And then gaining a foothold. That means you have wise discernment and you're able to see uh, who is trying to get your attention and to save you in this very moment of suffering, of deep suffering and suffocation. Okay, we got to use these words for everyone to realize the depth of your suffering, the magnitude of your suffering. And if we don't use these types of words, people would easily dismiss your suffering and go back to the samsaric cycle and formations. So the monastic order, we try to grab you out of the water, we try to wake you up, try to look around, and you see the value in the Dhamma, and that we start cultivating the skillfulness. Here we see conviction in skillful qualities is good, conscience is good, concern, persistence, discernment. That 5 or 6 life skills there alone could take years to master alone. Nonetheless, just reading through them. So hopefully everyone, that's the first step, is to try to break the cycle and the bond that could get you to go down anymore. Obviously my talk is for the people who are actively suffering right now. And if you're not going through this and you've already got your head above the water and you realize that I understand nirvana, I understand how to get there, I know how to swim, the monks have taught me how to swim. My strokes need to be like this. My elbows need to be above the water. Okay, I know where I'm heading, my goals, my convictions. No one's gonna stop me. Sheer determination. And so you have all of our blessings to start doing backstrokes forward, butterflies, to head across. We see here in the qualities of the abodes of the heavens, and the heaven of the contented was one of the realms that the Bailey, out, out, out. Can you step out there for a second? Thank you. Sorry, I'm at my dad's office. We had someone walked in. Um, when we see the heaven of the contented, it sounds very comforting. Now, it is the total opposite of being underwater. It is the total of suffering and suffocation. So it's my hope this new year that we start fresh, we start new. Whatever things that we've done last year, it's done, it's over with. Now the sutta has enlightened all of us to start getting on the other shore, and hopefully by the end of all of our lifetimes, like all of us here individually, at the end of our cycle, that we get to see more students achieve that with us, like Mahasi Sayadaw, who have brought perhaps anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million people to stream entry. May you all be well, be happy, and always be healthy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Venerable Trudeau, for shedding more light in today's sutta and what it really means. And I think we have to apply this to now. Let's step out of this Dhamma point and bringing these teachings into our modern lifestyle. So of course we see there are a lot of people, they have already sunk and they are staying sunk. What it means now, see people have fallen into deep depression. So why? Now there's a story behind it, and every story is rooted in all these dark, unwholesome qualities. Now, I don't know whether Venerable Sanata Vihari could shed more light into this. How do we apply these teachings to people in modern time? Of course, we all are doing. Let's say we are teaching meditation, giving Dhamma talks, doing counseling sessions. Our spiritual task is to help people come out from the water, helping them not to sink again. Although they are staying or remaining on the surface of the water, we are asking them, okay, now open your eyes, look around, and try make it. Effort to swim, you're in danger in the water, anything could happen. Now, can you make an effort to swim? And by swimming, can you go to the shore and eventually go to the high land? So that is a complete recovery. So I'm just wondering whether Venerable Sanata Vihari could shed more light into this.
Vandana Bhante. Hello, Venerables. Yes, what comes to mind, Bhante, is the parable of the quagmire, where the Buddha says, is it possible for someone who's stuck in a quagmire to get themselves out of the quagmire? He goes, no. And the same thing with the water. Is it possible for someone who's drowning to save someone else who's drowning? He goes, no. Only someone who's free, right? Someone who is not drowning can save someone who's drowning. Only someone who is not in the quagmire can get someone out of the quagmire. And here it shows us the importance of having the good friends, the spiritual friends, right? The leaders, the monastics, someone who has a bit more experience than you to help you get out of the darkness, get out of sinking, come out of there. And that's why the Buddha arises in the world out of compassion for living beings, right? To help those beings with little dust in their eyes come out of the water, come out of the darkness, come out of the quagmire. And in the famous sutta where Ananda asks the Buddha, it appears to me, he says to the Buddha, it appears to me that half of the spiritual life is good friends, right? Kalyanamitas. The Buddha says, don't say that, actually the entire life, right? So the entire path consists of having good friends. So we can say that, in order to get to not sink or to be safe from sinking or from the quagmire or from the dark qualities, you need a good friend, right? A good friend will be there to protect you. A friend in need is a friend indeed. And if you're drowning, you're in need. So that's when you really need your good friend to come in and save you. But also I was reminded of this sutta. Let me just look at the reference of it. It's the Anguttara Nikaya number 4.85, where it talks about there's 4 types of people. The person that was born in darkness, going to darkness, the person that is born in light, going to darkness, the person who is in darkness, going to light, and the person light from light. So I think this is a very simple formula. Instead of like 7 steps, we can do 4, right? Like just kind of making it shorter and shorter. And the person going from darkness to darkness is a person who is finds themselves in really bad circumstances, right? Really unwholesome circumstances, and continues to perpetuate those circumstances by body, speech, and mind doing bad things, right? So they're in a bad situation, in a bad life, in a bad destination, and they keep doing bad things that's going to perpetuate their stay in that bad state, unwholesome state. And then the second person is the person who was born in good circumstances, in light, but does bad things in speech, body, and mind. So then they start going from light into darkness, right? They lose their wisdom, they start using up all their good karma and going into a bad state. Then there's the person who is born in darkness and going to light. So maybe they have a lot of bad, unfortunate circumstances. They're in a lot of suffering right now, but they start changing their ways, right? They start doing good in body, speech, and mind, and they come out of the darkness. And then there's the person who's very fortunate, very lucky, the person who's born into light and continues to go to light, right? The person who finds themselves in a good situation, in a good life, in a good state, and continues to realize good actions by body, speech, and mind. So basically what I'm trying to say is just look at yourself, do a very honest evaluation, right, of what's going on right now in your life and the state that you find yourself in, and then make an effort to cultivate wholesome states of mind and body and speech. It's very simple, right? So just practice loving kindness, practice the 7 factors of awakening, the Brahma Viharas, the 5 spiritual faculties in body, speech, and mind to the extent that you can. Some days it's going to be easy, some days it's going to be hard, right? When you go to work and you got some jerk sitting next to you, that day is going to be difficult. When someone cuts you off, when the neighbors move your trash can, when your partner leaves their hair at the bottom of the shower, when someone pees on the toilet seat, those days will be hard, right? But we keep making an effort to cultivate wholesome mental qualities in our mind, in our speech, and our body. And I think that's a way that we can naturally start inclining towards liberation, especially if we have good friends like showing up here. You know, when sometimes we think about spiritual friends as some special person, but all the monks here, right? And also your parents too, and your brothers and sisters, anyone can be your spiritual friend as long as they're a person who is dedicated to the path of liberation, you know, of practicing Dhamma. So I just wanted to share those few thoughts that I had, Bhante.
Yeah, thank you, Venerable Sanat Vihari, for sharing your thoughts. Yeah, I see Venerable Shanta Sobana raised his hand. I'm also very interested in hearing from Bhante Kamalasiri, his reflection on this sutta, but I will be getting back to him. So let me see what Venerable Shanta Sobana has to say. But there's also a question asked, can a person switch between the first 3 persons? Maybe we can think about, reflect on this question as well. Venerable Shanta Sobana, what's in your mind?
Oh, actually, Venerable Sir, as you mentioned, that how nowadays, how people can get help, because when they go through the situation, anxiety, depression, and their personal life situations. So one of the things that we have to remember that everything is impermanent. So whatever the condition that we go through is not permanent, and it is not only for us. So that's why we have to learn from this and try to get out of that. So especially what happening nowadays all over the world after the COVID, I think it shifted the situation. There are a lot of people now becoming lazy, and they don't interfere physically themselves with their own life. So when we come to this the sutra, that one of the things we have to remember, even though we look for this conventional development, and that development should build on the spiritual foundation. So that is a very key point. Whoever like to become a more better person, that person needs to be kind of like have to have a spiritual foundation. So that is where that person can be sustained and at the same time become more confident. So when it comes to the very brand new the explanation about the intelligence came from the Cambridge University. It tells us adaptivity to change is your intelligence. Adaptivity to change. So That means that whatever the situation we go through, we have to have the skill and ability to reinvent ourselves rather than get stuck with the situation. So I'll give a very simple example that Sir Edmund Hillary, he's the one who that went to the higher the place of the Mount Everest. So when he was keep trying, he was that many times he failed, but he came one time, and that day he was so tired he failed, but he came to the bottom of the mountain and looked at the Mount Everest and told himself, "You are a mountain, you can't grow, but I am a human. I can grow myself. So one day I'm going to conquer you." So on the very next time, he conquered the Mount Everest. So this is what we have to understand. So the life itself not going to happen to us. So that's why we have, as a human being, we are capable to develop our mind. We are capable to develop our skills. So then if the person reinvent themselves and remodel or redesign themselves to become more better person, go towards the higher purpose with the spiritual foundation, I think this time going to be the best time, and if we are capable to get the best out of our own life.
Yes, thank you.
I want to add. Thank you.
So I would like to go to Bante Kamalasuri from Minnesota. Bante Kamalasuri.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Reflection, contemplation on this. So far, the discussion we had.
Yes. Can you? I think you can hear me clearly.
Yeah.
Yes, I was listening to everybody, and it was nice, Bhante Santos Sobana's the story about the Hillary. I know in very next time also he failed, but there was Tenzin Sharpa and he took him to the top of the mountain. That also interesting we have to think. In the sutra, I think we discussed everything and everybody gave the good explanation, ideas, concepts, so many things. But I like to focus again into the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, it says an individuals or a person sink down once. Sink down once. What is the meaning of this? Because before sink, the person was on the surface. Because I check again the Pali text also in the Buddha Jayanti and Chatta Sangha, every the three other the primary text. Then I saw Nimugova, Nimugova. Then there is meaning. First, here the person has been on the surface and sank. That is then the second come the question: if that, how did person sink in the water? Then I think the sutra has given answer for that. I will explain that. Endowed with exclusively dark, unskillful qualities. That is the weight, I think. That is the reason to the sink in the water. Then, however, they naturally It's come naturally or with someone helps, I don't know.
Mm.
Again, when the going away this darkness, inclusively dark, or destroy this weight, the person come to into the surface again. Maybe according to other sutra also explain about that the looking for sunlight, the person come to out like a lotus bud. Same way, when the person who are in the dark, when they see the light from the surface, then they comes to outside. So we have to. I think it is interesting for me. How did they think?
I think we know that, right? But I say everybody. Let's say that's why we had to do this serious reflection.
Yeah.
Are we on the surface, or are we sinking?
In the deep.
Or are we staying sunk in this? So that means we had like maybe good life.
Yeah.
We were safe. Everything was all right. And suddenly we realized we are slowly sinking.
Yes.
And so now the question is like that's why this sutta explains this. What causes us to sink?
Yeah.
And then it also gives us hope, right? It gives it shows the way. If you think you're sinking or you're staying sunk, but remember this, you can come out. I think that's why this the Gagira is asking a question: can a person switch between the first three persons? Of course, you can. But the thing is, remaining on the surface of the water is not safe. There is a possibility of sinking anytime. You could have good life, but if you, due to lacking saddha, rational faith, hiriyonottapa, virya, panya, if we are lacking these wholesome qualities, then there's no way that we can cultivate wholesome qualities, right? So if we don't cultivate wholesome qualities, and if we allow ourselves to keep doing all the negative deeds, then of course the weight is going to be heavy, and then we are going to sink, right?
Yeah, actually, that's the thing. I also wanted to mention about that question also. Yeah, I think we gave the answer for that also. I think that is the thing I wanted to mention. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Venerable Tridao, you raised your hand again.
Yes.
What's in your mind?
Yes. Thank you for having me again. Like Venerable Shanta Sobana talks about the laziness part of it. The new types of people are what I would describe as intellectually lazy. Because I mean, if you think about it, our books are quite thick, and it's within the three baskets, it's all over the place. Like the life of the Buddha is found all over the place, including the Vinaya. So you got to have some diligence into the investigation and trying to find the blueprint of the Dhamma with the help of the monastic order. So I, at the time of this talk, I have my doubts that certain people, not looking at this sutta, so they're just simply just listening to us. That's why we have audiobooks. So and I just wanted to add the constitutions to what makes you think in the most practical and easy to understand, which is the in the threefold training. If you look at the sila part of it, that's how you sink. That's how you sink. By not keeping the precept is the first yellow, orange flag, red flag of sinking. Of course, you know, especially the intoxicating substance. Um, and if you look at it carefully, looking at the just examining the sila alone, the 5 precepts alone, you realize that if you don't keep it, you're brushing with the law. You're asking for police to knock on your door. You're asking for your ex to come and drag you out of the house and throw your clothes out. And so, I mean, yeah, because it's easy for us to say sinking, but no one really can put their life, examining their life to know what is there. When you keep the precept, you open the now you. How do we swim forward? How do we go forward that far ashore? Is the threefold training paves that way. Um, the threefold training is like the 3 boats that is headed towards right over there. And if you see one boat, you may have your doubts because you're like, nah, I don't think that boat know what it's doing. It's probably going to go east, west, south. You see 2 boats and you realize that the one can be a fool, but when 2 are going together, I think they're headed towards the right direction. Um, but when you see all 3 boats, which represents the threefold training, then you realize that this is for sure. Um, so the threefold training is, and then you go towards the samadhi part of that. And as we look at the last paragraph, tells us about fermentation free, awareness release, discernment release, having known, having directly known and realized them for himself right in the here and now. That's vipassana. That is boom. That's that boom. um uh so that boom could be described as that fireworks from the island that you're trying to swim towards. Screaming at you. It's like, hey, this island is here, it's waiting for you to come and join us. Um and yeah, I you know, when you look at this very carefully, you realize that the threefold training helps you to be that wise Brahman, to stand on top of the high ground. And when you stand on the high ground, I would tell you for certain that you will be allergic to entertainment. As part of our talk today, talked about, you know, followers and following things that is not conducive for your spiritual growth and attainment. But you know, I get a certain stage in my path, and I realize, I got all these young students that drag me here and there. I conduct research, but I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to gather data, but this music right here, I'm really allergic to this. Where's a quiet place where we can do this instead? So these, so those are telltale signs of how you can start to sync. But thank you for having me again.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, you're right. As Buddha made it very clear, morality, the sila, is the foundation. Anyone not practicing the 5 training principles could cause their life to be sunk, like immorality, or not. So could be the main cause behind sinking. So the morality, to practice, I think the sila, the morality, the virtues, we need to have the saddha, the faith, conviction. Why do we have to practice these 5 precepts? And if we don't follow these precepts, what are the consequences? So then, if people can cultivate the saddha, the hiriyottappa, that's the moral shame, moral fear, and then they are going to make effort to practice, to cultivate this, or even to practice the noble eightfold path, and practice the meditation. Eventually, it's the samatha and vipassana that's going to help us eradicate and eliminate all the defilements, 10 fetters, to go to the higher land, the top of the land, which is completely free from all the dangers in life. So I think this is something that we all have to cultivate and reflect. Now see what type of individual are you? Are you the person, this is for everyone, for the monks, for the lay people who are watching this program now. Are you the individual who is sinking and staying sunk? Are you the individual who is coming onto the surface and sinking back? Are you the individual coming onto the surface and staying on the water? Or are you the individual coming onto the surface and opening your eyes to look around? Are you the individual who is coming onto the surface and making effort to swim towards the shore? Are you the individual who is gaining the still in the water, but by the shore? Or are you the individual who is going towards the top of the land, to this place of security? That is nirvana. So this is something to reflect, to contemplate. And now we know what are the qualities that make us sunk, what are the qualities that could help us come out, and eventually what are the qualities that could help us to go to the higher land. So this is the amazing discussion we had. Thank you, Venerable Sirs, for coming and joining this discussion, the first discussion of the new year, and enlightening us and the audience with your wisdom. So today we have a new monk who joined our discussion all the way from Las Vegas, Venerable Dhammaratana. So I would like to invite Venerable Dhammaratana to recite the over the Patimokkha verses for us today. Venerable Dhammaratana, unmute yourself.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for inviting me, Venerable our Bante, Sarnapala Hamdro, and all the Dhamma friends. I make a wish, good luck, Happy New Year, all of my friends. Sabba papassa akaranang කුසලස්ස උපසම්පදා සචිත්ත පරියෝදපනං ඒතං බුද්ධාන ශාසනං කන්ති පරමං තපෝති තික්ඛා නිබ්බාණං පරමං වදන්ති බුද්ධා නහි පබ්බජිතෝ පරෝපඝාති සමනෝ හෝති පරං විහෙතයන්තු අනූපවාදෝ අනූපඝාතෝ පාතිමුක්ඛේච සංවරෝ මත්තං යුතාච භත්තස්මින් පංතං ච සයනාසනං අධිචිත්තේච ආයෝගෝ ඒතං බුද්ධාන ශාසනං.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Venerable Dhammaratana, for beautifully reciting this over the Patimokkha verses. You have such a beautiful voice, and I know you are the Paritabhanaka. Thank you so much. So I would like to say a big thank you to all our Venerable monks for joining the discussion today. And today you have shed more light, bringing the Dhamma to people and helping the people become a better, happier, healthier, and see the light and to liberate themselves. So this is a good karma we all perform together. May this good karma bring you all happiness and good health and longevity. And may Devas, celestial beings, continue to protect and guard all of you, our venerable monks and nuns, and the lay people, and the devotees and friends, thank you so much for joining this discussion today. I'm looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. Until then, all of you stay well and happy. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. May all sentient beings be well and happy and peaceful. Thank you. Good night from Toronto, Canada.
Thank you all for joining. I have to go now. I have another student that is awaiting my phone call. So thank you all for being wonderful. Listen, I can't answer some of those questions on, I would think it's Instagram here, because I have to keep Noble silent in being respectful within the monastic skull. These are all top-notch, high brass monks. So, and thank you for all being wonderful listeners on TikTok. Please join me on YouTube for more in-depth teachings. And until the very